Hello and welcome back to my Kansas City Royals series here on Out of the Park Baseball. So far, we are 30 and 29, so a bit of a rocky start after that great last year where we had 87 wins, a huge step up. In terms of the standings so far, you can see it's the Minnesota Twins who have surged ahead. They no longer have Bryce Harper or Miguel Sano, but they are still playing very well, at least so far. If we take a look at the wild card, you can see that we are one game back of that second wild card spot. So even if we can't catch the division leaders, we're certainly going to be in the thick of it for that wild card race. At least that is the hope. But if we take a look at our players so far this year, Justin Williams has gotten off to a really hot start. I tried negotiating an extension and he kind of agreed to it, and then like a couple days later backed out. So we might talk to him a little bit more later in the year about giving him an extension because clearly he is playing very, very well this year. But I might want to see a little bit more before I really commit some money to him. Vinny Toasty, again, his offense is just not really that great, but the defense and the base running, I guess that's what it is so good that turns him into a pretty darn good player. So again, hopefully that bat develops because then he would really start to be a superstar. Michael Gaglotti, having kind of his normal season where he's got a decent on-base percentage, decent offensive player, really just slightly above average is kind of what I would call it. Reese McGuire, you could say the same thing. Goldschmidt's had a bit of a rough start. That seems to have happened the last couple of seasons, though, to be honest. The one that I'm really concerned about is Nick Madrigal. He is really regressing, both in terms of the ratings and in terms of the statistics that we're seeing. He's never been good, but you'd hope in his age 25 season, he'd really start to put it together at the major league level. And quite frankly, the base running of the defense is there, but it's not really enough. So I'm concerned, and hopefully he can turn it around because his ratings are still good enough for him to be a pretty solid player. Nicky Lopez, another guy who just seems to have started to decline, especially on the contact side. So we might be on the lookout for a second baseman at the trading deadline because he has just been a whole bunch of nothing. Two exciting stories, though. So Nick Prado, we called up. He's looking pretty good. I'm going to try him out at third base because, as you'll see, Kapazu on the DL for at least a little bit. Prado's been hitting pretty well. I really like the on-base percentage that he has. He seems to have a lot of discipline. Hopefully the power starts to come in a little bit later, but I guess we will have to see about that. And then Griffin Conine, another guy who's kind of struggled, in previous attempts at the majors. I guess he hasn't really played much at all in the majors, so never mind there. But certainly this year, he started out really, really slow, but he has been heating up recently. You can see that OPS plus about 96, so he's been about average so far this year, even though he is hitting just 231, and that's because of that power. You can see 7 home runs in about 200 at-bats, and it goes along with some decent defense, so I'm excited to have him on the team. Hopefully he continues to produce. In terms of our starting rotation, Blake Snell has gotten off to a bad start. Carlos Martinez, we got to just talk about quickly. I actually made a trade with the St. Louis Cardinals. You guys might remember in the last episode, I was looking for something where I would trade Richard Lovelady and hopefully get something in return because, in general, even though Lovelady is a really good relief pitcher, he's just a relief pitcher, and there just aren't many innings that are eaten up. We have some good guys in the bullpen, so I really thought that we could have used, another solid starting pitcher. And Carlos Martinez kind of fits that bill. So he's someone that's got some real plus pitches. His ratings are pretty good. He's an extreme ground ball pitcher, still throws 97. He is 31 basically years old, and he's got 2 years on this contract, $7 million, and then I'm almost sure we'll pick up that team option unless he continues to struggle. But, 2 years of a pitcher like that, it may not be worth it, but I kind of feel like we're not peaking right now, but we're starting to get to that point where, I really want to be competing. So I think this was a move that made sense. Now, we did have to give up Colton Bauman as well. He's someone our scout is not really high on, so that's kind of why I got rid of him. It just seems like that control not really going to develop, unfortunately. And then we also got rid of Emmanuel Rivera, who was just sort of like a depth option. So we did give up a pretty good package for Carlos Martinez, but he should be good. Now, he has been, unfortunately, pretty awful. I don't know if that is the BABIP. It does not seem to be, though. I mean, those strikeouts are definitely down. The home runs, especially, are up. So I hope that he can turn it around because this is not really what we want to see. His peripherals really don't look good, so oh well. Blake Snell off to a slow start. He seems to be off to a slow start every year, so hopefully he as well can turn it up in the second half. Zach Godley has been okay. I mean, again, he hasn't played as well as he has in previous years, so that's a bit unfortunate, and hopefully he can pitch really well in the second half. And Skoglund and Reed, I mean, they're pitching as good as we could really expect. I'm not a huge fan of the number 4 and number 5 guys in our starting rotation. Maybe Edward Cabrera will find his way into the rotation at some point. Who knows? You could really say the same thing about Castillo. But our bullpen, kind of speaks for itself. You can see the ERAs here. In general, it's kind of split down the middle. Some guys really struggling, and other guys, finding their groove. You can see Bobby Pointer having another good year. Josh Stamount, who has really awful control, having a good year this year, and he had a pretty good year last year as well in the major leagues. So hopefully that's someone we can count on. So let's take a look at the disabled list because there are some guys on here. Kapazu has a strained wrist. He'll be back in 3 weeks. He's missed a decent amount of time, but you can see in the limited time he has been playing, he's been very good. 15 home runs, not 50, in 44 games. So still got that power for sure. Kenan Shanowski, I mean, he's always injured, it seems, unfortunately. That control potential keeps going down and down and down. So really looking like a relief option, if anything, and he's been struggling at the major league level, even as a relief pitcher. Dowsei Chua, unknown amount of time left, I guess, on the injury list. I don't think he's really the same pitcher, but I still think that he would definitely be in our rotation if he comes back. And Dowell Lugo also having issues. So anyway, that is really kind of the scope of the team so far. Things going okay, but I really hope that they go better in the second half. So let's take a look at the first-year player draft, though, because I have taken a look at these players, and again, it kind of seems like a weak draft class. There is one guy to me that really stands out, and that is this Nate Bigelow. So overall, he seems like an above-average Major League player. Really nothing more than that, but we are here in the late first round. I think we get the 24th overall pick. The only other guy that piqued my interest was this Juan Aranda. Some pretty decent offensive ratings. I really like his personality, but the OSA isn't very good and his defense isn't very good. Generally for a catcher, I want good defense. So I think Nate Bigelow is kind of the obvious choice. I mean, I could run through some of these other guys. They just don't really have the ratings that Bigelow has, both as the head scout ratings and the OSA ratings. So both of those pretty good for Bigelow. And for the pitchers, I mean, there is nobody. If we take a look at all pitchers, it's all relief pitchers, and the best starter is this Brendan Schreier, who just, he could be okay. He's got some good control, but he is not really someone that I would look to for a first-round pick. So with that said, I think I am going to go with Nate Bigelow for our first pick. He is going to be a hard signing, but he's not impossible, so we should be fine there. So in the draft, really no starting pitchers at all here in the second round, so we're just going to keep on hitters. Yeah, I really don't see anyone here. Maybe this Chad Yarl, but oh god, his void Ks are awful. Actually, maybe we'll go with this Jeremy Kuntz, number 99. When his mind wanders, he wanders, but good basic skills. Well, that's what I like to see. I don't know, man. This is the only, even though it's a first baseman, it's like that is the only guy with even intriguing offensive ratings to me. Let's see what our scouting director recommends. He says we should draft Mike O'Donnell, and I do actually like the looks of Mike O'Donnell. I don't know how I missed him. I guess he's a borderline starter because of that number 3 pitch. I would definitely think about him. Oh, gosh, this is a little tough. I think I'm going to take Kuntz. I just really like some of these ratings. I don't know. I'm really worried about his changeup in particular, so I think I'm going to go with Kuntz, but I'll definitely keep my eye on O'Donnell. So we're going to go with Kuntz for the second round. So here in the second round, Mike O'Donnell still available, so I think I'm going to go with him. I doubt that he's really going to be a starting pitcher, but could be a good relief option at the very least. Here in the third round, just trying to look for skills here. I do like the look of Andy Nichols. although he's really, really slow. Now, this Mike Barker is also still available. He was someone I was looking at earlier. I think he's someone that could be helpful in the major league, so I think I might take him for this third round pick, and then I might let my scouting director do the rest. So here in the fourth round, I actually do like the look of this Juan Lozano. He's got some good kind of overall ratings, good arm as well, so I think that I am going to go with him. But then I am just going to let my scouting director do the rest. Okay, so we have simmed ahead a little bit. We're playing a little bit better, 44 and 39. Unfortunately, other teams are also playing better, so we are 2 games out of the wild card spot and 3.5 games out of the division. So we played some good series against the Twins, but we've kind of struggled against other teams, actually. So do with that what you will. We do have Dowse Chua back, so he is in the rotation and pitching okay. And we also have Kapazu back, and he is hitting like crazy, so that is a big piece to get back for sure. We did sign all our draft picks, and now it is time for the international amateur signings. I have kind of learned to take all of these international signings with a grain of salt. It seems like maybe because they're so young or something, but a lot of their potential doesn't actually come into reality. So anyway, with Luis Molina, he kind of looks like the best guy out there. Laura, not too bad, but I'm not seeing enough to sway my decision. So let's offer Molina the maximum $5 million because we've got that money to spend. All right, so hopefully he likes that. All right, we are here at July 10th. We are struggling 46 and 45. We need to make a move. This is a very minor move. We'll probably have to make a bigger move. But anyway, Nicky Lopez is just not hitting. His ratings clearly aren't what they used to be, and he is just kind of a middling replacement level player. And I think that we can get an upgrade here from the Marlins. They want to trade Isan Diaz, I assume, to get his money off the books. I don't really know exactly, but he seems like a decent player. He's been okay in the past. You can see an above average player actually last year. He's got some power, so I think that would help us. We're going to do this trade. We're giving up literally nothing. They just seem to want us to get rid of his contract. So happy to take him off of their hands. Let's put him on the Major League roster, and I think we're actually going to designate Nicky Lopez for assignment. I just don't really think he's the same player for whatever reason. So a little sad because Lopez has been with us for a while, but let's add Isan Diaz to the Major League roster. So I'm definitely happy with that. I think it gets rid of a hole in the lineup. We are going to have to figure out what to do with our starting rotation. Really, no one is doing well, especially Carlos Martinez. This is beyond disappointing. I mean, it's one thing to have a bad season, but to have a 7.1 ERA, and his BABIP really isn't even that high. He's giving up so many home runs. I don't know what's going on from an extreme ground ball pitcher. So yeah, I guess we'll just sim ahead, but, around July 25th, we are going to have to try to figure something out. All right, so we are currently at the All-Star break. Let's actually sim the All-Star game. So Seth Beer was the All-Star game MVP. Let's see how he's doing. Really good. I remember in last year's game, he was kind of like the prospect to have. So far, not doing too bad for the Baltimore Orioles. But anyway, let's take a look at the All-Star rosters as well. You can see our old friend Danny Duffy there. Reese McGuire made an All-Star team, so that is pretty cool. And Kapazu, no surprise there. And also Justin Williams. So a couple guys on that All-Star roster. Unfortunately, we're still sitting at 49 and 49. But what are you going to do? Well, we are at the trading deadline, and I am basically at a loss. I don't really know what to do. We are 52 and 53, and we should be way better than this. Definitely very disappointing. If we just take a look at runs scored, we're 6th, and runs allowed, we're 9th, and, it's basically just our starting rotation. Again, like I kind of alluded to before, it's one thing to have a bad year, but it's another thing when your ERA is 6.28. And, you're getting paid the big bucks. I don't know how he is giving up this many home runs. This is just totally unprecedented for him. It's just unfortunate that we kind of seem to pick up pitchers and then, it's like we're poison or something. And, Zach Godley having a bad year too, but, an ERA of 5 relative seems to be not too bad. Oh well, it's kind of one of those things. I don't really want to blow things up and just start like selling assets in a mad rush. I want to see how the rest of the season goes, and then maybe in the off season that is an option. Who knows? For the offense, things have been going relatively well. I mean, not spectacular, but fine. And I just want to see how the rest of the year goes. No deals really seem to make sense. I was, again, trying to find a good starting pitcher, but we've kind of already traded a bunch of assets for good starting pitchers, so it's hard to really make a move. I think we're just going to wait this out. Hopefully things get better, and if not, we will address that in the off season. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.